Say it, mercy. Some days, this is a story. Some days, it's just a thought that wants to be shared. A pause, a breath. Lighten your load. Remember to breathe. Let joy find you. Say it, mercy podcast. Well, I guess last week episode of being aware has brought me into an experience that's pretty pleasant. I've been ambushed. I really was ambushed last week. When you have schedule weeks of regular appointments, um, and that's fine. But this particular week, I had made myself available to do appointments that were outside my comfort zone. And not only that, I also had doctor's appointments. So it was a mixed week of stuff. And I had just finished recording the episode of Being Aware. So, of course, it was in my mind. And what a week it was. It was, those kind of appointments that you're trying to make it possible, but yet they feel logistically complicated. And then you look at your schedule and you'll say, well, maybe next week. Maybe we can match up next week. Or maybe next month when I'm less complicated. Well, I had one of those. For a few months now, I was to meet with a friend I live in Miami, so it's Miami Beach. And logistically, she's away, like with traffic, an hour drive. And I don't care to drive in traffic. It's one of my weaknesses that I've noticed way back when I was younger, whenever I'm stuck in traffic. That not moving bumper to bumper is not my first delight. I know it's my number one stressor. And it hasn't changed. I'm constantly looking at how to get to a destination without traffic. So, knowing that I had traffic, no matter how much I wanted to avoid it, was always making me look at the schedule and say, "Oh, this week is too complicated. Let's do it next week, or let's do it next month." And it's just because in my brain, in my mind, I just have an issue with time. So traffic, time, logistic, everything was in that combination of trying to meet with my friend for lunch. And there's no other location because she couldn't drive. So there we go. I schedule it this time and said, no matter what, this is the date. And it sure took my full day. It took me a full day because I had to pick up another friend of ours and then drive over there. And then we had a blast. We had such a wonderful time. Time just disappeared on us. We were there for more than 4 hours in a beautiful view of the waterways in Miami Beach. Great company, great laughter. And even though I came home that day pretty late, because sure enough, I did have the traffic, there was something that had nourished my soul. And instead of coming back home stressed out, with no energy, feeling exhausted, instead, I came home feeling lighter, more joyful, more grateful. And that was not the only time this past week. It was amazing. And I think it's amazing just because I noticed. Isn't it wonderful when you all of a sudden notice and you realize those little treasures hiding in these moments and where you thought you were going to be stressed or exhausted. And all of a sudden, you find that drive, that exhausting bumper drive was not that bad. And that even though it was a full day, it was worth every minute of it. And at the end was, why didn't I do this before? Well, there goes another opportunity this week. I had an appointment with my son to the Neuroscience department at our Baptist hospital. First appointment. And of course, we're all stressed. And every person we encounter, every single one, by the way, from the moment we enter that building and we go to the first office. Well, by the way, I was just already happy finding a parking space so close. But coming into that first office where they registered you and then they send you to whatever floor or suite you need to go to, there was such a smile on each person's voice. There was this warmth, this feeling of caring just by saying hi. It was amazing. And as we were waiting, and we went from one reception to another, and we were handed into the consultation, each person that greeted us had a smile, had a real warmth, and asking how we were. It felt like there was such a human connection. I cannot even express it in words. And even though we know we have follow-ups to do, we left there feeling, again, less stress, lighter, feeling gratitude. And this was just the middle of the week. Because then that same week, my best friend asked me, hey, can we just do a little escapade and go to the mall and have some early dinner together? And I thought, oh my God, we haven't done that in so long, for sure. And sure enough, I met with her. We went to the mall. We walked the mall. We sat down and have a light dinner, early dinner. And I came back home again, feeling rewarded, nurtured, feeling that human connection. And my gratitude for this week was even greater. And then Friday night, my husband had said, yes, we would go and match up with his best friend. Guess where? Miami Beach again. As if I had planned it all along. And normally, when I hear Miami Beach, Friday night, again, traffic. So it's not appealing. But we had said yes. So we drove. And this time I was not driving. So there we go. And I tried to not be stressed with the traffic, even though I was the co-pilot. We got there. And guess what? We were able to park, because that's another thing that I always get into. Oh my God, and the parking, not the traffic, but the parking. All made up stories. I got there and there were plenty of parking. We match up with my husband's best friend and his wife, which we have known each other for 40 years plus, I think. It was such a beautiful afternoon. And we had dinner in this wonderful Latin Cuban restaurant, and beside it was the band shell. And we went for a concert. a Latin concert. So the music was definitely in the move of you moving your body. And it was such an enjoyable evening. Again, we left, and as we were driving home, my awareness. Wow, Mercy. How many stories do you tell yourself that puts you in a limitation beyond your wildest thoughts? Why do we do these things? We create this pattern of safety, of convenience, of comfort. At least for me. I know there are some adventurous people out there, some people that are always looking for a new opportunity. But, this week, that week that I had just recorded my episode of awareness, of being aware of your patterns, boy, the universe was showing me one after another how make stories so that I can keep myself home, keep myself close by, not have to venture too far away. So it's about timing, traffic. And yet, this week, when I did venture out, when I allow myself to have a different experience, there was not one of them that was not pleasant. And the most impactful part was the hidden treasures I found. How gratitude ambushed my week. I really felt this joy from my heart. Thank God I had not let my stories run this week. Thank God that I allow this week to exist. And not to finish, I forgot to tell you, I even had an interview about my Spanish book. By the way, an English version is coming soon, hopefully by June. I'll be talking about it. And they asked me in the interview, what was I grateful for? And it was that moment that made me realize, oh, hold it, hold it. Oh my God. My heart is full of joy. I am so grateful. It was that moment of that interview and that question that made me be aware. So you see, sometimes we need someone else to ask us a question, someone else to probe us, to invite us to come to out of our comfort zone so that we can see what we have been missing. It's like putting on glasses. You didn't know you needed it because you were squinting and reading anyway. I cannot emphasize more than ever. Think about it. Think about your week. Think about how many times you're saying yes to something that you normally say no to. Think about how much a smile of yours can give someone else. Because at the end of the week, I realized the importance of that warmth, that tone of voice, that contact of human relationship. And yes, I was a receiver, but it made me aware of my attitude when I'm out there, when I'm going to the doctor's office or I'm doing just plain groceries. Am I keeping myself with a smile? Am I seeing the other with a fresher look, with no anxiety or stress? Sometimes we get so stressed about all the things we have to do that sometimes this focus on getting things done exclude us from really connecting with people, smiling, saying hi. Boy, this week I really welcome this energy. The energy of gratitude that came as an ambush. And today I'm more aware how important it is to give it back. So I leave you always with a little question and reflection, right? What tiny treasure did you almost miss this week? Not the big ones, the tiny ones. Maybe the parking space or a stranger's smile, the drive that was not that bad. Just notice. I assure you, you'll find some of those little treasures, and a smile will come up, a remembrance. They're there. They're all there, waiting for you to show up. I'm Mercy, and this is Say It Mercy. Stay curious. Till next time. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for honoring your soul's whispers. If today's reflection spoke to you, I invite you to share it or subscribe in whatever way feels natural to you. You're also welcome to connect with me on YouTube or through my Substack's Reflections, where this soulful journey continues. Until next time, may your story unfold with clarity, tenderness, joy, and light.